experience. There's a lot I could say in advance, but let's start by playing a clip of Jesse describing the journey in his own words, and then we'll get right into him in this timely episode of Lifelong. Trace, play clip one.
I had resigned to the fact that I was going to be obese for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to eat my way to an early grave, and I was accepting that I was just letting life pass me by. I was hiding from being who I wanted to be. I was pretending and escaping, and I hated I hated my life, and I wouldn't admit that to myself. And to now have this platform and truly be myself, and to be somebody who represents body positivity and weight loss, and I have a damn jawline. Like, this is my life. And tomorrow, I step into that life. I could not be more excited and more proud and just so incredibly grateful to, most importantly, to my past self for taking that first step, because the first step is the hardest one, and for trying that 101st time, because I thought I had tried everything. I thought I had tried everything under the sun. And you know what? I know that so many of you relate to that, but I promise you haven't tried everything, because there's something that works for you as an individual. Please stop trying to follow fitness trends. Stop trying to follow fad diets. Don't worry about what your favorite fitness influencer is doing to lose weight. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing to lose weight. Focus on what you as an individual need, because we're all individuals and we all have different things that make us successful. And at the risk of making this sound like some sort of weird acceptance speech, I'm also incredibly grateful to my family, to Dr. G and his wife Julia, and to my amazing community for making these surgeries possible. I I know I said this already, I never thought I would be here, and it's tomorrow my life changes forever in the best way possible. I finally get to feel like who I am on the inside. I can't wait to bring you guys with me. I love you all. Thank you so much for all your support. I'll see you on the other side.
Jesse, welcome to Lifelong.
I was not ready to rewatch that right now.
It was a very moving thing to. My first question is, were you prepared for the amount of loose skin you had?
Yes and no. Certainly being that size, I've always been aware that that would be an issue. Um, I don't think that I realized to the extent that I had it, but I certainly knew that loose skin would be an issue. Yeah.
I gotta tell you, man, I honestly was not prepared at all for it. Like, and I think you're quite a bit younger than me, and so what the only thing I credit the current generation understanding that this is a possibility is social media and people like you and me. And there's a great account out in San Diego, California, named Obese to Beast, and guys like this who are talking about skin. It's not in any of the diet books. Not one of the nutritionists I saw when I was younger in the 80s and 90s ever mentioned loose skin as a potential byproduct of massive weight loss. And so like when I arrived at like having lost 300 pounds, I was just like, when does this go? How do I lose this? What's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that ironically you brought up a name, Obese to Beast. He was one of my first influences along my journey. So I think I was introduced to the concept of loose skin real early on. But I think to your point, absolutely the nutritionists and doctors that you talk to and stuff, they never really mention it. And to be fair, in the 80s and 90s, that information was all outdated anyway.
Yeah, it was not a big factor. And then I think we're getting I think now as people are losing weight, we're getting more to the hard fact of the matter. But were there any other solutions pitched to you, like red light therapy, intermittent fasting, lotion, getting into the sun?
Oh yeah, people love to spout. So David Goggins is the one that popularized the idea of, oh, you just have to lift light weights for a lot of reps, and that's like the most common one I get. In fact, I frequently get comments of like, bro, if you just went to the gym, this wouldn't be a problem. I've been lifting heavy for 3 years. Since literally 2 months into my journey, I've been in the gym. So it's like, yeah, lifting weights is not making skin go away. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. There is no magic trick that's going to solve it. I've heard, people say drinking a lot of water. I've heard collagen. I've heard fasting, and people love to use the fasting one. It's like, I mean, yeah, technically autophagy will help with loose skin, but it's going to make like a 5 to 10% difference, and you've just fasted all your muscle away in the process.
Yeah, and like if we get down to brass tacks, skin is an organ.
Yeah.
Organs are literally the very last thing your body's going to consume before you die. And so, like, your heart will probably start to get consumed at the same time as your skin. And yeah, your muscle's all gone, and you've done away with every other place that the body could derive energy from. And then, like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a great way to handle loose skin. I don't know. It all, but I say this being somebody who like bought into every one of those. I did mineral wraps, I did red light therapy, and then the skin just wasn't going anywhere. And I did lotions at night, and I finally talked to a dermatologist who was like, no, no, your skin is definitely not going anywhere. You have to have it cut off. Um, what was your first surgery like?
So the first surgery was 360 circumferential tummy tuck, the fleur-de-lis, and gynecomastia. So essentially my entire torso. The recovery from it was actually really not that bad. There was certainly moments in healing where it was like, this feels like this shouldn't be happening. But I think that that's normal with any of these surgeries. I think you're going to experience at least one of those. And but ultimately, like pain levels and everything like that were all extremely low. A lot of people think that these surgeries are like extremely difficult. I'm at day 5 post-op. I'm in no pain right now. Like a lot of people think that, oh my God, your legs and arms were just literally cut in half. But it's really not that bad, especially if your surgeon knows what they're doing and is smart with pain management.
The big question I want to ask you is what was your weight at the beginning and what was your weight when you got your first surgery?
So I was 524 plus. I always add the plus because I don't really know. I the first time I ever got a scale to register, it was 524, but that was after I'd already lost some weight, and before that, the scale was just erroring out. So I don't really know what my starting weight is, but because I don't know an actual number, I go with 524 because I don't want to be that guy that is just like constantly changing numbers around or whatever. My first surgery, I went into it at 259 pounds.
259 pounds. So that's roughly 300 pounds.
Yeah, so I've at this point I've lost 300. Yeah.
And did you know what your body fat percentage or was? I mean, I've scrolled through your account and I've seen you were very lean with a lot of skin.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I never did a DEXA before the surgery. I kind of wish that I did. But I feel like my torso was relatively lean and my legs kind of held whatever fat was left. I think that that's kind of just genetics. That's your genetics determine how you store body fat, and I tend to hold more in my legs. Um, and when we finished this surgery and he told me the weight of skin that came off, I was almost disappointed for a second, but that just like it kind of just clicked that that just means I did a really good job of leaning out for the surgery and that there wasn't much fat tissue removed. It was skin.
Yeah. I've I've seen look, I think skin removal surgery is something that anybody who undergoes massive weight loss has to think about. But I do see more and more on social media people getting skin removal surgery in bodies that I think is way too early. Have you seen any of that where I just go like, bro, you got another 100 pounds to lose before you're cutting skin. This is going to be removing a ton of fat.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I was actually one of those. A lot of people think that I did my first surgery too early. But realistically, I think that it comes down to a combination of what your purpose of the surgery is. Like for me, it was never about aesthetic result. I don't really care. I'm not self-conscious about what I look like. I'm very happy with what I see in the mirror, regardless of these surgeries or not. These surgeries were about comfort and functionality, right? Like I love to dance. A lot of my content is dancing and having all that weight on my legs, having the extra skin between my thighs, making, certain movements just extremely more difficult, or even just the concept of being able to find a pair of pants that fits comfortably. Like, so I if you ask some people, I would say that certainly there's people that would say that I did the surgery too early. At the same time, I'm very happy with the result, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah. Okay. No, my insinuation is not that you did it too early. When I look at
No,
pictures of
I
you,
get it.
it to me, I'm like, yeah, that guy's ready for to have skin removed. I am seeing other instances where I'm seeing people who are talking about getting skin removed, and I'm like, that it's we're not there
Oh,
yet. And I worry that people might start going into these procedures because removing skin is less dangerous than removing skin and fat. Like once you start
yeah.
removing a ton of weight, once it becomes 20, 30, like how much weight did they actually remove from you in skin?
So, so this is a great question. I'm going to quickly talk about what you just said. So, I agree. I see people talking about skin removal way too early. For sure. There's people that are still well over 300 that are already talking about it. And it's yeah, I understand you're enthusiastic. You're killing it right now. I'm proud of you. But let's dial it back a bit and focus on continuing to see progress.
Yeah, like
That said,
with your clients, would you encourage somebody to get to a weight and maintain it for a bit and become, you know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, like as a responsible person who is guiding people through this and ultimately probably to this point, what are
mhm.
your thoughts on that?
I don't think you necessarily have to maintain it, but I think that you have to be in the right mindset. Like to me, it really depends on how somebody lost the weight and where their mindset is at because I think that when you understand real sustainability and you're in something that's truly sustainable, you can recognize when other people are there as well. And I think when you're in a place where it's legitimate sustainability, I don't think maintenance is that important simply because you can sustain the weight and you know you can. However, if somebody lost the weight via something silly or something that's clearly unsustainable for them, it's like, no, you should maintain for a while because let's see if you can keep it off first. So I think that it's really a gray area and it really depends on the person.
Yeah, like I remember one of the diets I was on as a kid was called the Beverly Hills diet, and it was like just a series of nonsense. One day it's all pineapple, and then three days of pineapple, you go on to papaya, and it's a really horrible diet, but you can lose weight.
Yeah,
You can
of
lose weight
course.
pretty quick. But like if you if you lose your weight on the Beverly Hills diet, that is one where I'd go like, buddy, this weight is
You're not gonna keep that weight off.
this is coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I think that's a rational point you make. Like if you've taken your time and done it and you're into a structure that is sustainable, that yeah, no, but I also I fear for people who, you know, think that the Beverly Hills diet is sustainable. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like that,
for
I
sure.
can remember because I did that diet a number of times and I thought like I'll lose the weight and I'll be fine once I lose the weight.
I think that and that's why there's that phrase, the way you lose the weight is how sustainable that weight loss is. Because what a lot of people will do is they do stuff like the Beverly Hills diet, and they have that mindset of like, okay, well, I'll get to my goal weight, and then I'll go back to, then I'll start changing to X, Y, or Z. It's like, okay, well, the fact that you've gotten to that goal weight and now you're changing things just says that you don't know how you're going to keep it off yet. And that's the advantage of sustainability, right? Is like when you're doing this in a way where you don't have to change anything once you get to that goal. All you're changing really is you're eating a little bit more, if anything. So it's like, yeah, I'm eating a little bit more food, but I'm eating the same foods. I'm not changing anything. And I don't think that that means cutting anything out. I don't think that that means doing anything silly. I just think that that means building a better relationship with food, building more balance around food, learning, having a fundamental understanding of human nutrition is so important. And to me, it's like borderline criminal that we learn things like, um, you know, social studies and history and whatnot, but we're not taught nutrition. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Is this one of the main things you focus on with your clients?
Yeah, definitely, because I think that um, learning and understanding the science around food is really important. And it's something that is really, really misunderstood and not talked about often enough. Very simple principles here. I'll give you sensory specific satiety. Have you ever heard of that? Do you know what that
Uh-uh.
is? So think of Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner. At the end of the meal, you've had your turkey, your stuffing, your potatoes. You are so full, it hurts. But then the pie comes out and it's like, oh, okay, I've got a little bit more room.
Right.
Everybody has this idea of like, oh, we have a second stomach for desserts. What that is actually a scientific principle that the more exciting a food is to your brain, the more your brain can straight up ignore its satiety signals. So you're no longer hungry because that food is exciting enough. So the more exciting a food is, regardless of what it is, you're going to be willing to eat more of it. And if you think to a time where you had to eat something boring, say on your one of your diets where you're eating like boiled chicken, it's like all of a sudden, well, I'm eating 3 bites and guess what? I'm very full all of a sudden, right? So the more exciting a food is to your brain, that actually plays a huge role in satiety signals. And that's why things like McDonald's, you can have a huge meal and then still feel hungry because it's just like it's so exciting that your brain just wants more and more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a guy that I have never heard of that, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so like that's the kind of stuff I focus on teaching my clients is like getting a better understanding of how all of these things work because once you have a better understanding of how these things are playing a role in your brain, it becomes so much easier to take that control back. Yeah.
What, how long between your first skin surgery and this one?
First surgery was April of last year, so just about 9 months.
And what was the recovery like on the first one?
Very, very chill, honestly. Like I was doing 6,000 steps a day within by now, like by day five. Obviously your legs aren't cut up, so this one I can't be doing as many steps as quickly. But the recovery is you're limited by your abdomen and obviously your surgeon and their abilities play a major role because it depends on what they're doing for pain management. My surgeon is very anti-opioid, so I'm not on any opioids right now. I'm day five post-op, but I still feel no pain. Like he'll give them to a patient if he feel like if a patient requests them, but he generally tries not to give them to people.
And it's
So,
use the same guy for both?
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I was extremely happy with my first surgery, so it was a no-brainer to go to the same surgeon.
Yeah, that's amazing. And is this something that he does primarily, or this is just a specialty of his?
Yeah, no, so he specifically handles loose skin removal, like that's his specialty. He works both with like mothers who have skin from multiple pregnancies, things like that, and he works with major weight loss patients. Although my first surgery was 22 pounds removed, and I'm currently his record holder, so you
2 pounds. That's awesome. What
know.
and you said you were disappointed. You thought it would be more?
This surgery. So this
Oh,
surgery was 14, which I'm still very impressed by. It's still a fantastic number. But I thought that this surgery had almost more skin than my first one. Because my, I don't know if you saw the before of my thighs, but my thighs had a ton of loose skin.
Yeah, and that again, to your point, that's just genetics.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I get, and that's, it doesn't upset me or anything. And if anything, having the my thighs be like tight now is really cool to see because I've never had that in my life. I was big even as a kid. So I've never really had like I can quite literally see my quad muscle, and that's really cool.
When you started dieting, had you tried other diets before? Like the
Oh
last
yeah.
time, were you put
Oh
on diets as a kid?
yes. So I've done pretty much every fad diet out there. I've tried it at one point or another. I'd done Weight Watchers as a kid. I did something called the Bernstein diet as a kid, which is like once a week you're getting a shot in your butt, like an injection into your butt. And that was when I was like 14. And yeah, none of them ever really worked. And again, this is, I was always so focused on what worked for everyone else. And that's why I'm so against that idea. Is like everybody tends to focus on what's working for everyone else. Like, oh, my cousin's brother's sister lost 30 pounds on keto. You should give that a try. And then nobody ever mentions like, yeah, she lost 30 pounds, but then she stopped and she gained 40 back. Nobody
Right.
ever talks about that. They talk about the good things. They never talk about the bad.
Yeah, keto is a tricky one for me, and I kept going back to it. I think because the first 10 days always produced such an
Yeah.
incredible result on the scale that I
Hmm.
just think like, well, there's something wrong with me after those 10 days. You know, like my system breaks and I'll do it better this time. I'll do it more hardcore. Um, but keto is a tricky one and it's so radically popular. And I do not know, I can't pick anybody out of my head, but I would say I do not know of a lot of people who have gotten all the way to where they want to be and stayed there on keto. And so it is one of those things where like it's so ubiquitous in the dietary conversation that if that was the one, we would see a hell of a lot more success stories than we do, I would think.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing is the success stories you hear are people talking about I was on it for X amount of months or X amount of weeks and I lost all of this weight in this time frame. And that's as humans, we hear that and we go, "Oh man, I should do that." Because you hear 30 pounds in 30 days and you're like, "Damn, I really want that." But
Yeah.
it's like you have to give up on that idea. Like I understand it's fancy and it sounds great, but we have to understand that actual weight loss doesn't care about our emotions. Actual weight loss doesn't care how quickly you want this to happen. It doesn't care that you're frustrated or upset or sad or whatever. All it cares about is the science. And you have to abide by that science or you're not going to lose weight. And ultimately like that's what you have to focus on is like how is this going to work for me as an individual where I can be in a calorie deficit without it sucking, because that's the part that's hard. And everybody can be on a calorie deficit without it sucking, but we get so caught on the idea of things like, oh, well, I can't be having ice cream or pizza anymore. It's like, no, you can. You just have to do it smarter. You have to be more mindful about it. You have to think about your portion size. You have to think about what else you ate that day, what else you're going to eat that day and the rest of the day, right? Like one of my things that I hate when a client does is they'll have like pizza or something for lunch without thinking about what's going on the rest of their day. And it's like, that's totally fine if you want to have pizza for lunch, but now think about, okay, well, I also have a birthday dinner planned. It's like, you probably should have thought of that before you had the pizza for lunch.
Right.
Right. So,
Yeah. The birthday dinner becomes like a green salad with lemon, no olive
yeah,
oil.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like everybody has to figure out what works for them. And I think that that's really the hardest problem with diets and weight loss in our society in general is that everybody gets fixated on what's working for everyone else.
Yeah, I think there's what's working for everyone else, and then there's even like just what people say is working for everyone else
Yeah,
that isn't actually
that's not
objectively
even
working
actually
for.
working.
Right. It's just what has been said to have worked for everyone else that we can latch on to. Um, I think also it becomes this odd thing of like people don't want advice sometimes, they just want to be told what to do. And so
I don't work
telling
with clients like
somebody
that.
telling somebody you got to figure out what's correct for you is like the hardest thing possible because it creates a really set of difficult circumstances for them to figure out.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a very, very tricky thing, but I'm so glad you've had the success and that you're down to your second skin surgery and you're done, right? That's it?
So the plan right now is to maintain for a few months, and then the goal is actually to I just posted about this yesterday, and this is still like I haven't even talked about this on social media outside of my story, but I'm going to be working with a bodybuilding coach with the goal of getting onto an actual stage.
Wow.
Because just I've never been this has never been about vanity for me, but I just want to be able to say that I've done it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
But you are in the gym a lot.
I am. Yeah, I lift 6 days a week. I love lifting. But I've been in a calorie deficit the entire time. So obviously I'm not building a whole lot of muscle because I've been, when you're in a deficit, building muscle is like borderline impossible.
Are you nervous at all about potential bulks?
Not really. I would say that my issues with food are pretty well conquered. And that's a difficult statement for me to say and like be so confident about. And I think that that's normal for anybody to have been overweight. If anything, generally like the mindset of like, oh, that's gonna make you fat again, that tends to come from me not moving my body. Like right now, having to sit for so much, I get the mindset of like, oh man, this is gonna make you fat again. But I don't really get that with food because I've gotten to a place where I have such a healthy relationship with food and I'm so good at like, well, if I want to have that pizza, there's totally nothing wrong with that. It's just the amount of which I'm having it and how frequently I'm doing that. And like,
Okay,
so
well, this is my question for you then. Going into this, did you think about that before the surgery? Like, obviously, you were up and around moving quite a bit quicker than this time around with the last surgery. Um, but did you think like, oh my, this is going to be my legs. I'm not going to be able to walk. How am I going to deal with that stress?
I didn't think about it. Legitimately, I literally day one post-op, I popped open a stitch because I did too much movement. And I didn't realize that I wouldn't be able to move post-op like I was my last one. So I'm really not happy with that. And it's just gonna, as far as like how I'm handling it, I've doubled up on my therapy sessions. I would normally only see my therapist like twice a month, and now I'm doing weekly. And then on top of that, one of my favorite authors just released a book, so I got that on its way to me. So I'm trying to do stuff to keep my mind busy. I'm a little bit more engaged with my clients than I would normally be. Stuff along those lines to just like keep my mind busy and keep myself as mentally busy as possible. But it certainly um I I'm getting really antsy of like I want to get up and do things.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I didn't even have my legs done, but that anxiousness was the absolute hardest part for me, and I wasn't
Yeah.
prepared for it at all. And I didn't do well because of that. And I ate stuff I shouldn't have eaten, and
Oh, I've already done that too. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
definitely eating things I shouldn't have eaten, but like I again, that's one of those things where like I'm in a great place mentally where I can be like, well, what doesn't matter what happens on any one day. So like it doesn't bother me to overeat a little bit as long as I know that I'm still in control of food. But certainly, yeah, the driving me insane.
it's a it's such a mind mess of like
Yeah.
everything we've done to get to this moment, and now we can't do any of that. Now sit
And movement
still.
is like a therapy for us. Like
Yeah.
we don't really realize it, but it's absolutely like part of our therapy. So had not having that, it really messes with your head.
Yeah, the best I feel every single day is walking out of the gym. It doesn't matter what the rest of my day is. The rest of my day could be winning the lottery, and still the best I will feel is walking out of the gym. And I need that. And when that was taken from me, and I didn't realize like, oh, it could be a couple months before I'm back to get to be even being capable of manifesting that feeling because like I just had the flu for a week and I went to the gym for the first time today and I didn't have nearly enough energy to actually stimulate that feeling in myself. I did a workout, I did very light weights. I got exhausted. I was like, okay, that's enough. I went to the gym, but I couldn't manifest, actually getting that feeling takes some work and effort. And having that stripped away from you and just going
Yeah.
like, no, you must be at peace with yourself for day after day after day. And you have to sit still and live in it. It's really hard.
It is. And actually that's something I talked about the other day is like my surgeon allows you to get back in the gym at 4 weeks post-op, but like I don't. I wait until 6 weeks because I cannot go in the gym and pick up 5 pound dumbbells. Like I just can't. In my head, it just like it does not trigger things the same way. I need to be in there pushing myself. And if I'm not pushing myself, I don't get that same feeling. The exact feeling you're talking about when you're stepping out of the gym. I need to have pushed myself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes, you can't just do a lap of the gym, look at some weights, pick one up, and expect to walk out feeling better. You actually have to earn that feeling.
absolutely.
Yeah. And that kind of recovery. I love that he doesn't push opiates on you. I'm a sober person and opiates are super dangerous for me. So maybe at the end of this you have to give me the name of your doctor because I could use
Sure.
my legs worked on. Okay. Jesse, I want to get your opinion on this week's First Things First clip that features Chris DeMarchias with Rise Health on the Adaptable Behavior Explained podcast, noting that it's rarely ever too late to change. Trace, play this clip.
Someone might be listening and saying, oh, well, I'm 65 and I've neglected my health. Well, the great thing about that is that decline is assuming that you're essentially maxed out. Mm-hmm. And if you're maxed out, you're going to decline. But if you've been neglecting your health, you could be healthier at age 70, 75 right. than you are at 60.
What do you think
Yeah.
about that, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I'm 36 years old now. I know I don't look it. I'm 36, and I'm by far and away healthier than I was in my 20s. It's not even comparable. So I think that that's factual, and I think that that's true for anyone at any age. In fact, my surgeon gets asked a lot about ages because, like, obviously people later in life need these surgeries as well. And he frequently talks about how he would rather operate on a healthy 70-year-old than a 25-year-old who's a smoker and handling, doing narcotics or whatever, because that 70-year-old is still going to be much safer for him to perform surgery on. So I think that, yeah, absolutely. Depending, like age is relevant, sure, to your health, but certainly your habits and the way you live your life are much more important to your health.
That's awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. Let's take some questions. Trace, we got anybody? Hi, Joe.
Hey, Ethan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
I have a question about calorie deficit for either you or Jesse, either or. So my biggest problem with weight gain is I don't eat enough food. Being autistic, it's really difficult with textures and flavors and the sounds that I don't really like to eat. So according to the app that I've been using to track calories, I'm supposed to get like 2,800 calories in a day. But then I go and swim for an hour and do a mile, and that blows through like 1,100 more calories. Ethan, I'm already struggling to eat 1,500 calories a day, let alone 3,500. The other problem I'm facing is after I swim, I'm not hungry. I could go all day without eating and be totally okay. I know that's not healthy and I don't do that. I force myself, but woo. So I'm curious on y'all's take about calorie deficiency.
Okay. Jesse,
Sure.
what are your thoughts?
So first and foremost, the easiest way to be trying to gain weight is using healthy fats because fat is more calorically dense than protein or carbohydrates. So one of the easiest things you can be doing is like making a smoothie, for example, and putting a few tablespoons of oil in it. It may not sound appetizing, but you're not going to notice oil in your smoothie if you put like some avocado oil or um, extra virgin olive oil, those types of things. It's going to increase the calories a lot, and you're not really going to notice it or get any extra satiation from it. So that's one of the easiest ways you can be increasing your calories. The second thing I'll point out that you had mentioned is the swimming. That metric is probably coming from a watch, and it's very likely off by a significant margin. Like an hour of exercise is generally burning around 6 to 800. 1100 is egregious, and it's probably not burning that much. All that said, when your goal is weight gain, um, ultimately you just have to be trying to increase your calories in whatever way you can, and the easiest way is going to be with healthy fats.
Yeah, I was gonna mention uh the tracking of the calorie burn with exercise. Like I wear a heart rate monitor usually when I go to the gym, and I like the number it tells me. I do not trust the number it tells me.
I love
Um,
the number. If it worked that way, I would love it.
yeah, the number is always a profound number. The number makes me feel like I am the greatest athlete on earth and I'm just the most efficient at burning energy and I can just burn through so much. But I do not trust that number. And I don't I don't count honestly any of my active exercise calories towards my calorie bank. I never count exercise in like if I'm supposed to eat 2,800 calories a day per my, my BMR, that's what I'm hitting. And I don't up it or down it based on exercise. But I would say that if Joe is losing too much weight and not and because she's too active, then yes, I would go with increasing fats is the fastest way to get there for sure. Yeah. Do we have any other questions, Trace? Ryan, aloha.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What's up, guys? Good talk today so far. You and Jesse mentioned sustainable weight loss and opioids, overcoming addiction. I am a former addict myself, being in that hospital and being, offered those kind of things. Definitely let the demons come back a little bit. So my question to you boys is, Ethan, is somebody who's maintained that long-term sobriety from, drugs and alcohol, things like that. I have a friend out here in Hawaii that I've befriended, and what advice would you give to him just hitting that 1 year mark? You've talked about, reviewing or viewing rather recovery as a chronic condition, rather than something you just fix once and you're done. And so, how has that mindset helped you? And what program or practices do you think that would work best for somebody that's staying committed over the long haul? Like, would it be building routines, 12 steps? What would be your advice, sir?
I like the 12 steps a lot. I like having a community that of like-minded people that I can go to say like, hey, here's an issue I'm dealing with with my sobriety, and I know that they can relate to me in some way. That's the really awful but wonderful today, but awful thing about uh my struggle with weight is they're very, very similar. I just, for many, many years, didn't think of my weight in the same way as I think of my addiction. My addiction is something I manage. It is not something that is going to be cured. And in the same way, I have to take on my battle with weight every single day. Now, that sounds really, dark and macabre and pessimistic, but it gets easier. It's not the same today that it was 10 years ago. And likewise with my sobriety, day one of rehab or day one of getting out of the detox of rehab, when I've just I've just been able to shower again. My skin doesn't feel like it's crawling. I've slept a little bit. I can eat some food again. Then, that kind of day one of, okay, I'm a sober person now. Everything is fragile. Going out into the world, there is a fragility to putting myself in any situation, and I do not have that experience today. So
Mhm.
I have a foundation beneath me, but I never kid myself that that's gone. It's
Right.
still in me. It's
Mhm.
just that I've worked tirelessly. The last surgery I had was to repair a bicep tear. I tore my bicep, and I had to go into the hospital, and I had to argue for a couple of hours with the anesthesiologist about not giving me opiates while I was unconscious. And the guy was basically like, look, we give you a cocktail when you're unconscious. You'll never know. Um, and I was like, look, dude, I'm gonna wake up, and if I have opiates in my system, I'm gonna know and I'm gonna want more. And so you can't give them to me. And finally we settled on ketamine, and it was smoother. Um, but like I just I've had other surgeries like the skin removal surgery where I woke up with a morphine drip, and it was really, really hard to come off of that. And I'd been sober for a decade at that point. Um, so like that kind of stuff, I just know that that demon lives within me. And I do not moralize food. I do not think of food as good or bad. I think of my relationship with food as good or bad, but I also think of my relationship with food as something that I can manage really, really well, but I'm never going to totally win. And so I just had a period, a week long. I'm so glad Jesse's here to talk about this, and I'm so glad he's giving himself the grace this week to go like, yeah, I'm gonna eat a little bit more. I'm gonna, eat some stuff, and that's okay. And I think that's okay too. I've just come off a week being sick. I didn't go to the gym once. I ate not great, to be honest with you. But I was like, the minute I feel better, I'm going to get back on my routine. And that was today, and I'm back on my routine. And it was a little bit harder than normal because I can remember yesterday when my wife said, do you want to try this carrot cake? And I was sick, and I said, yeah. And I had some of the carrot cake, which is something I normally wouldn't do. And I don't even think of carrot cake as good or bad. It's just my favorite cake, and I can get out of hand with carrot cake. So it's like these kind of principles that we can build into our life, I think, are really helpful to me. I am basically an addict trying to manage a two-headed beast. And one is where I want to use food to soothe myself, and the other is that I want to use substances to soothe myself. And neither of those things have led me in a direction that is beneficial to me. So I manage them. Having people to talk to, I think that can relate to what your friend is going through, Ryan, is so important. Because we can get into our own heads and go in circles and talk ourselves into all manner of crazy things and rationalize and justify and create these stories that are ultimately leading us towards a result that is not optimal. The minute we get out of our heads and we're talking to other people, I think we're better off. And 12 steps are great for that. I've never done 12 steps for food. I imagine that it's probably pretty good too, but I don't know. That is not, I've maintained this
And he's a
weight now
fit
for
guy,
eight
so he
years.
doesn't really deal with the same stuff as us in terms of weight loss. But don't want to cut Jesse out of the conversation. I want to commend you on the things you've done with your community, sir. I didn't know who you were until today, but I'm on your bandwagon. As long as you're just spreading that love, it'll trickle down. And You know, positive vibes equal positive vibes equal positive vibes. It's the circle of life, man. And you two brothers are doing the thing, and we still have to deal with this internal conflict. But self-awareness, like you talked about, Ethan, I know what works for me, and I know what does not. And so I'm going to do the things that make me feel great, not good. I want to feel great again because I don't know if I ever have as an adult. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Jesse? What are your thoughts on sustainability? How do you, if you have a client who comes in, and how did you get out of this yourself? The need for me to see immediate results was so hard to overcome.
Yeah, I think that it's very normal in the weight loss world for people to have that desire for immediate results, especially because of you hear those stories of the 30 pounds in 30 days or XYZ. And it's never easy to teach somebody that it's like, look, we have to approach this from a realistic standpoint because that's the only way that you're going to find true lasting success is to recognize that this takes time. Like it took however long for you to gain that weight. It's going to take time for it to come off too, and that's okay. That's why we're focused on trying to find something that doesn't suck because when it doesn't suck, it's not as hard to be patient, right? And that's truly like the hardest part. Everybody says the hardest part is the first step. And then people say the hardest part is finding sustainability or learning what works for you or whatever. But the true hardest part is the patience, right? Because we as a society do not do well as patient people. We're like, I don't even like buying stuff online if I have to wait 3 days for it to get to me. So
Yes.
like we just do not do, especially in today's day and age where everything is instant gratification, we do not do well with, okay, well, you have to be patient. And going back to what I said earlier of like weight loss and your body's energy balance does not care about your feelings. So if you're getting frustrated that this is taking long, guess what? Suck it up. That's not, it doesn't matter. Your body doesn't care. So like, yeah, it's is it fun all the time? No, but that's why making this not suck is important because you just have to be patient. And that's truly the hardest part. Um, I've never battled with addiction outside of food addiction, but I will say that one of the sayings I really love is, and you kind of touched on this, is show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I think that the environment you keep around you is extremely important. And that's true for food as well. Is like the more you can control your environment, the people you're hanging out with, especially like everybody that's ever been big, you probably have friends that you would classify as like, these are my eating friends. Like if I'm going out with this person, I know that we're getting some good food, but that food is never good for you, right?
Right.
So everybody has those friends. Everybody that's overweight has those friends. And it's like, yeah, we either need to have a very serious conversation with these people or we need to try and hang out with them less because you're not going to make good decisions around them. So I think that is, the people that you keep around you, the environment you keep yourself in, the food that's available in your home. I even, this is Mike Pridgeon put me onto this, but I have like rules for myself where, if I want to go to McDonald's, I can go to McDonald's anytime I want, but I have to park a block away. I have to walk into the McDonald's, eat inside, and then walk back to my car. That's the only way I can ever have McDonald's. So it's like it's not a big deal for me to go and park and walk a block, but it's getting that mental barrier of like, do I want it badly enough that I'm gonna go and do all of this?
Right.
So it's just a very simple way for you to check in with yourself and just be like, okay, I legitimately want McDonald's that badly. And if you
Yeah.
do, great, go get it. Nothing wrong with it. Now you've proven to yourself, like, okay, I do legitimately want it that badly.
I love that. And I've already started scheming in my own head because I'm in New York City right now. So I walk everywhere anyway. And I'm like, oh my God, McDonald's is on the menu. No, no, I'm kidding. No, but I agree with you. McDonald's is not a total off the menu thing, but like, yeah, I get rid of the habits of like the drive-through or the Uber Eats or whatever it is. I completely agree with you. Trace, do we have time for one more caller, one more question. Do we have anybody?
We do. We have Brian, I think. Brian, are you still with us?
Brian, hello.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. I was on mute. Sorry. Hey
All
guys, how's it
good.
going?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So I legit had this question before the first things first video came on. So I've just been debating on if I was going to get on and ask. But back a couple just under 2 years ago when I was 455 pounds, I genuinely thought I was too far gone. Like this is how my life's just supposed to be from now on, and like totally rock bottom. Um, But being where I'm at today, like, do either of you remember the point at which you realize, you know what, maybe I can still do this, because it obviously at first I didn't like I was just kind of like trusting the process, but it didn't really click until I was easily. And then you look at the before and after picture, and you're like, oh, okay, and this is just kind of like how life is going to be now. This is possible.
Yeah, no, I completely feel that, Brian. I unfortunately can remember uh going from I think I started dieting in 2002. I was over 500 pounds, and by 2005, I was down to 300 pounds. So I'd lost 200 pounds. And then over 4 kind of mindless years, I put back on 100 pounds. And so I had to have this, oh my God, can I do this again? I'm now in my late 30s. Um, and I did. By 2011, I'm down to 212 pounds or 213 pounds, so lean, insanely lean. And I'm like, this has got to be it. I've got to have made it, right, guys? I'm done. I've crossed the finish line. Proceeded to go back up to 400 pounds. And like, I've had that moment a number of times going like, can I really do this again? And what's the point if it's all coming back? It's so hard. It's a lot to confront when you think about like the recidivism rate. It's doable, but it's so hard and so many people gain the weight back. And I think largely for me, it's because like I did it wanting it immediately, wanting it in unsustainable ways. The first way was a bunch of crash diets that just got me to 300 pounds. And the second way was 8 hours of cardio every day and starving myself. And the minute I had to go back to work, the weight came back. And it's like, well, I can't never work again. I wish that was the case, but unfortunately, I have to work. And the minute I go to work and I'm not on a bicycle for 8 hours every day, the weight's coming back. Um, so I think it was this last time that I got to a weight and I was experiencing something Jesse was talking about, which was like I took it slowly. I was maintaining my weight and I wasn't miserable. There was no feeling of anxiousness to like be done. I was just doing what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. Every other diet I've done prior to that, I was looking for a finish line so that I could stop doing the diet.
And my answer is the exact same. Is like I had gone through certainly I've never had those transformations of like, okay, well I hit 300, gained 100 back. I had done the lose 50, gain 50 many times. But I had never found success to get to a point of like, oh, I'm under 300, for example. But regardless, this time around, certainly I knew I was going to be successful once I got into a routine where all of this felt good. Like I legitimately enjoy what I do. Like that sounds crazy because for a lot of people to hear the concept of losing weight and enjoying it sounds crazy. I would have called myself crazy 3 years ago. But once you found what actually works for you and you can find a way to make this fun, you do legitimately enjoy it. And once you enjoy it, it's like, oh, well, why would I be worried about gaining weight back if I'm happy like this? And
Yeah.
I have a thing that I love to tell clients is that once you're at a point of true sustainability and you're like legitimately like if you're concerned about, oh, I'll gain the weight back, the desire to see progress will always outweigh the momentary satisfaction you're going to get from food. And we have that concept of like, oh my God, I'm going to eat this food and it's going to feel so good. But really, you think of that time that you had the McDonald's or you had the whatever, and you have that dopamine hit that feels amazing. It lights up all the senses on your brain. But by the time you've swallowed, you feel the exact same again, right? But every time I look in a mirror, I feel fantastic, and that lasts for hours.
Yeah.
And I would never trade that feeling for, this few seconds of enjoyment of food on my lips.
Yeah. It's a great question, Brian. Thank you, Jesse. Beautiful answer. And before we go, I have a few quick fire questions, okay?
Hit me.
Favorite workout?
Ooh, I love anything that's anything that's chest, even though it's my weakest exercise. But I have what's called a Viking press. I really love. It's something about it
Beautiful.
feels so anabolic.
Yeah, I love it. Least favorite workout.
Squatting.
Okay. What's your go-to hype music?
Oh, I'm weird, and my gym playlist is literally everything. But I do weekly dance classes, and whatever the dance class was that week is always playing during my workout.
I love it. Post-workout snack.
Rice Krispie squares.
Workout you never skip.
Push day.
Okay, great. Best advice you ever received on your journey.
Ooh. The one I just said about, setting rules for things like McDonald's is really important. One of the ones I really, really love and has always stuck with me is the mindset of hunger is a measure of how soon you need to eat, not of how much you need to eat. Because
Perfect.
when we're thinking about when we're really hungry, often that means we're eating a lot of food.
Yep. What's your biggest motivator?
Myself.
Beautiful. If you could have any meal, calories don't matter, the rest of your day doesn't matter, what would it be?
Ooh, New York pizza.
I love it. Jesse, thanks again, and remind people where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on any social media platform as progressive.overhaul. Actually, sorry, Facebook is Jesse Mulley. I can't figure that one out. Don't, you know.
Thank you again for joining us. This was awesome. All right,
Yeah, it was great to chat with you.
it's time for today's Daily Nudge, and this week it comes from Douglas Reeves, an expert on school leadership. Behavior precedes belief. That is, most people must engage in a behavior before they accept that it is beneficial. Then they see results, and then they believe that it is the right thing to do. Implementation precedes buy-in. It does not follow it. Reeves remind us that change doesn't start with belief, it starts with action. Most people engage in a behavior before they accept it and it's beneficial. Then they see the results and then they believe it's the right thing to do. Implementation comes first, buy-ins follow. Before we go, a couple quick reminders. You can send questions to Ethan Suplee show at twoway.tv. If you'd rather send a video question, email it. We promise we'll get it on the show. Additionally, join our subreddit r dash nope. I'm sorry, Oliver. r/Ethan Suplee LifeLOng. The link is on the screen and in the YouTube show notes. It's a great place for me to interact with your comments, questions, and suggestions. In closing, remember, paths to better health rarely begin with a flash of insight. Start where you are, try things, adjust as you go, and do small things each day. Progress comes to those willing to move forward without guarantees. That's all for this week. And remember, health is lifelong. It is built, not born.